welcome to today's episode of Comic Books and You. Today we're going to go over City Boy issue 3. Issue 1 and 2 had been passable to decent. It wasn't a super hardcore or good series overall. It had very good ideas, but it was going strange places. This one here, however, is going perfectly in the right direction and really grows the character in a single issue from what he was before to an actual hero. So this is a very interesting move in the right direction for this creative team, and hopefully it rewards them in the long run. So in this issue, Cameron actually gets called City Boy for the first time. So he was Cameron Kim for the first two issue and most of this one as well. But at the end of it, he gets called City Boy by some of the Triad tongues. This is really how a superhero is supposed to get his superhero name, either being named by villain or by the general populace. Cameron is extremely vulnerable through this book, mainly psychologically. It has a lot of impact on us and on himself. He realizes what he's done wrong and the impact of his mother abandoning him really comes back to haunt him. We do see him climb back out of this as well. So it's really nice to see this kind of progression for the character. And we do get another ability that was hinted on prior, but it's really shown here, the ability to meld into the city to basically teleport within the realm of the city. So that's a nice little add on to his general abilities. The second most important character in this particular story is Superman, the last son of Krypton. At this point, I'm not quite sure. I'd have to look at the whole Superman family and generational three right now. Guardian and Defender of Metropolis ready to take action against threats to his city. It's the best way to represent Metropolis here as a city that Superman defends. And it's what he appeals to the city as well when he needs to try to talk to it himself. We really see him here as somewhat of a responsible father figure. Almost seems more responsible than when we deal with his own kids and derivative family member, nieces, nephews, clones. So it's a little bit interesting here to see him in that position, but he does come out as a very good role model for our main character and something that you would wish to emulate. So let's go through the story. I have a weird feeling that there was some editing done because the story starts with a Metropolis now, but we don't have any flashback at the start of this one. We add a flashback at the start of issue 1 and 2. I have a feeling it's just our edition told them to do this one in a way. So Superman come to the rescue of Cameron and Fujimoto. And he already knows of Cameron because he has friends in Gotham. The original stories, it seems, with Cameron Kim and City Boy are really from the Lazarus Planet event and some of those weird in-betweener books. So there were a few things before where he was playing around in Gotham, but it's not important with this particular story, except for having Superman know about Cameron himself. Unfortunately for both of our heroes, the city itself is out of control still, and the Metropolis dragon fixes itself just to do what Dr. Mokarison and Darkseid wants it to do, which is turn the entire planet into a new apocalypse. This could be a pretty major issue. Superman tries to stop the beast by appealing to it. I mean, Metropolis owes quite a bit to Superman and such, but he fails to control it as it's out of control, and he can't really, communicate with the city. For that, he really needs Cameron. So he goes and picks him up and brings him to the dragon itself. But Cameron doesn't feel like he can do anything because if you scratch the surface, everyone's a monster. He has very little faith in himself and faith in the population in general, in a way. Superman does talk to Cameron a bit, and Cameron admits that the real reason he doesn't want to scratch the surface is because he doesn't want to relive or see his difficult past. The main event here is really the abandonment by his mother. He basically faces this entire situation and relives the whole thing. And the dragon takes him out and brings him to the borders of the city to see the taxi in which his mother is basically running away and went to. So it literally faces the the monsters that are within him. After this is done, the dragon has shrank from a massive monster to a tiny little drakeling, and Cameron kind of breaks down and is rather emotional. But Superman basically has the talk with him to explain to it what is it it's like to be a hero, what you need to do, and that you need to try your best. Even if Cameron believes basically that most people are not doing their best, Superman basically implies that, well, why don't you try to do your best? And Cameron kind of takes that to heart. Superman does ask Cameron to help him fix the damage done by the dragon, but Cameron kind of runs away using his teleporting abilities. But as soon as he gets to Chinatown, he actually starts helping people out, pulling a car out of a big hole in the ground, making people rather happy. After that's done, he does meet up with some of Boss Chung's tongs after meeting with Fujimoto, and he scares them off and say that they will stop racketeering the people of the town as Boss Chung disappeared. So the last two actions we have here are really and truly heroic for Cameron. Rather than using his powers to just survive and try to make the least of it, he does the most of it now by helping out people in the town as a real hero should. After that's done, Cameron decides to leave Metropolis behind and to go to Bloodhaven, where it seems to be where his mother moved originally. So we have a to be continued with that. While it's not action heavy, this particular book does have quite a bit of character development, which is very important for a brand new character like this one. So it's very significant as far as a character piece goes, and I think it's fairly interesting to have us move into that particular direction. Now, we see Cameron as a hero rather than just as a character, so we could have him go on all sorts of adventures. The cover for this one is pretty good overall. It has the interaction between Superman and City Boy. We have a very nice background. It kind of flows in to our characters, gives us a sense of perspective and of action between the two characters. So it's actually pretty nice to have this kind of cover. It's fairly simple as well, compared to how busy some of the other City Boy covers have been. This is a very decent cover overall. It's not the best one I've ever seen. It's not going to sell issues on its own quality, but it's going to do what it's supposed to do. I would have preferred Superman to have a smile here rather than a dumbfounded look. Doesn't look that great, but Cameron basically going chow bye at the bottom is an interesting look and kind of what happens in the book as well. So that's overall pretty good. As far as the book itself, it's a very basic DC fare, nothing fancy. The paper's fairly low quality. Cover is glossy paper, more or less. At the point where we're at in comic creation and how much those things cost now, it wouldn't be too much to ask to have cardboard covers on everything, at least the cardstock cover, and the paper to be the mid quality. I mean, Astrobots that we reviewed last week kind of does it without the card stock cover. So there's coming and going ups and downs for this. We're going to review the newer, let's say, ads in there. There's actually quite a few. The first one being that DC Dual Force digital card game. We had an ad for it before, but it was a beta that was ongoing. Now it's actually ongoing. It seems it's actually been launched. The VS system back in the day, which was fun because you had Marvel and DC stuff kind of melding together in it, was a lot of fun, but it kind of died off And I think it still exists in some weird ways nowadays, but not quite. Most of the companies now, when they want to make those kind of card games, they do a digital card game. And if it actually works, maybe we'll get a physical copy of the game at some point. I haven't tried the game. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I can't say. It looks interesting, but I'm not a huge fan of digital card games. I like to play with people face to face in these things. We get an ad for Rue Morgue, which is another horror magazine. We had ads for another horror magazine last month. This month, we've got this one here. With the current night terror events, kind of merges together pretty well, so it's not bad at all. It's revenue generating, generates a small amount, probably not a huge investment, but half decent. There's a lot of horror fans in the regular superhero and genre fans. I personally never was super huge on horror. I like a little bit of it here and there, but it's not a thing that I jump on immediately. I do like monsters, but not the horror portion of it, I guess. It's a pretty good ad overall. You can use code DC23 to get a free copy of Movie Monsters, something like that. Overall, pretty good ad and pretty good setup. Get an ad for Detective Comics Gotham Nocturne Overture. That's a one heck of a mouthful. Not interested in the slightest in Batman stories right now. Maybe it's good, maybe it isn't, but I'm just not interested. Same with Batman Wayne Family Adventures. It looks like a comedy kind of thing. Still not interested at all into this. Batman and Superman World's Finest issue 18. Discover how the Dark Knight met Superman. I think I've read that story about 3 times in 3 different ways. I've seen it on TV a couple of times. Honestly, it's a thing that they keep trying to do again and again and again and again. Just get one story, use it, and republish it rather than asking new people to do it. Especially Mark Wade, who is not the greatest in my opinion. We got another movie poster ad for Blue Beetle. It's a new poster ad. I haven't posted it here because it's just more of the same in a way. We do get a short interview with Cholo Mariduena. I kind of feel bad for the kid because that movie is going to bomb so much. I'm not sure his career will recover. It's not a good sign. Maybe it'll be a good movie. Maybe it won't be a good movie. I'll see. Maybe I'll even go see it with the kids. I'm not sure at this point. Last newish ad is Justice League War World, 4K Blu-ray digital bundle thingamabob. There was a time where those movies or those animated movies were fantastic. They have been lame for some time now. So this one I haven't seen. Not super interested in seeing. If one of my friends, I've got one friend that buys most of them. I might watch it with him at some point. It's about what we have here. As far as artistic merit goes, I think this book is a step up from the previous 2 issues. The backgrounds are better, the character art is better, the monsters, well, there is a monster, so it's actually pretty fun to look at. So there's a lot more to look at and to breathe in this particular issue, which is a nice thing to have. The previous issues, the art was okay to a little bit weird. Nothing feels lacking in this particular issue. Superman actually looks great here, which is a plus. Probably the most recognizable character in the world. They really did a great job with the design on this one. Followed the character Bible really well while using their own style. I'm really happy with how that came out. The Metropolis dragon is also really impressive. I wanted to see more of it in the previous issue, and in this one, we get provided ample times of seeing it. Really looks like the kind of monster you'd have in something like Monster Hunter, which is fun to see. The metal colored, it's bright. It kind of reflects Metropolis, which is this city of metal and light. So it's not Gotham, which would be dark. The backgrounds are always present in this one here. There's always little something in the back, and it's not top notch. It's not the best art I've ever seen for backgrounds, but it works pretty well overall, and it pops out all of our characters that are on it. So it works really well for what it's supposed to be. Vehicular design, mechanical designs are okay. The cars look like cars. We have plenty of reference material nowadays. This is really the bare minimum that I think is required in professional comics or even in amateur comic. You should try to work with this quite a bit. We get a few great pages with very little dialogue, or almost, well, like this one here with no dialogue, and where the entire story is told through the panel work. That's a very appreciated development. Really works where it's supposed to be. As far as story element goes, I'm going to start with the bad bit, because there's one bad bit and the rest is actually pretty good. I don't like how simplistic this book in the end makes criminal gang work kind of look. Boss Chung is gone. The Tongs are just going to stop racketeering because Fujimoto's got a pet dragon. That's not quite how criminal organization like triads, Yakuza, Mafia, Russian Mafia kind of work. In these kinds of situations, if there is something like that going on, it'll just create a power vacuum and another criminal organization will take over. Or the organization will rebuild itself from the ground up and start doing it again. There's very little ways of really getting rid of these types of criminal organization completely, other than controlling them as much as possible, which is kind of hard, I know, but something in a world of superheroes kind of needs to be done every once in a while. Now we're going to go over the good bits in the story here. Well, we've got Superman being Superman. That's something that's rather phenomenal here. Superman is supposed to be that inspirational figure. Superman is the one that will look for the best in each of us. In a very short period, Superman basically teaches the ropes and the necessity of being a superhero to Cameron. What we need more in our DC stories are more stories of Superman doing things like this and less stories of I'm not quite sure what I've been reading recently. Even Brave and the Bold, it wasn't super fantastic. The story that was in that one was okay. I might review it at some point, but it was lacking a little bit of something. But here we have Superman at his best, which is always great to see. In this particular story, Cameron is really facing his past, and he's also facing why he's been running away from his past and running away from everything. He sees himself as a monster because of his abilities, but Superman basically shows him and teaches him that, well, he doesn't need to be afraid of his past and he doesn't need to be afraid of his powers. He just needs to be able to do what's best and do the best he can. Basically, what we understand from Cameron in this book here is that he doesn't want to get hurt. That's the bit that he's really afraid of. Once again, it's something that he's trying to move past in this particular story. Superman basically teaches Cameron a lot with just the line, the city's not a monster, it just needed someone to bring it back. This is basically the kind of speech you would give any starter level heroes that have powers beyond what they're able to control or what their experience lets them use. Overall, most of the things here that we've had are great moral messages from the Big Blue Boy Scout, all to teach Cameron and anybody reading the book, really, that nobody's perfect, that we just need to do our best. And even though most people are self centered and don't always do their best, you have to realize that you yourself can decide to do what's best for you and what's best for everyone. Overall, this is a character piece and a story about accepting oneself. We don't get any big action scene. We don't get any big fight scene. Superman was ready to use his powers to, solve the issue if need be. But once again, he used his super mind to try to resolve the issue as effectively as possible. So this was less of an action comic. It's not a detective comic. It's really that set of character pieces. Superman being Superman at the start is a great introduction to the book, and it gives us the baseline as to what a hero should be. Superman shows up, he's already inspirational, he's already a hero, and he's already there to help out everybody. Some people would say, like, yeah, but you can't compare all superheroes to Superman. That's just crazy. Well, that's what every DC hero should aspire to be. Yes, there's those odd anti-heroes or anti-villains, things like that, that exist in the DC and such. But what we should aspire to, and what we should want all of our characters to aspire to, is to reach that ideal of being Superman. As an example, current era icon in the Milestone universe cannot match Superman for that aspirational role. He has all sorts of underlying things that he wants to do to manipulate and control the earth rather than doing what's good for the sake of what is good. The rest of the book is basically Cameron accepting his place in the world, accepting that his past was tragic, and learning to move on from it. And once we reach the end of the story, well, City Boy actually starts his superhero career, helping random civilians, scaring away criminals, doing what a hero, even a street level hero, should be doing. Overall, this is a pretty good superhero book. Issue 2 was rather mediocre, but this one redeems the series up until now. First book was pretty okay. Second book was kind of meh. Third book is really good. So, over a 6 book arc, not a bad average yet, and it's moving in a good direction. Now, I would want a City Boy ongoing with him just traveling city to city, helping people out with his abilities, like an old Western show or Kung Fu, something along those lines. So, fun to have here. We've got 3 books left in the story. We're going to Bloodhaven. It's a change of scenery, hopefully advanced City Boy story. And we will be seeing him more acting like a hero and less like just a survivor. I was randomly chatting with the kids and the wife on over the weekend, and I was basically saying, yeah, the We Are Legend initiative was to showcase more Asian artists in comic, and my son was like, yeah, but there's plenty of mangas out there. There's plenty already of Asian artists. That's why this form of virtue signaling in comic doesn't quite work. If they had just introduced those 3 books as their own thing, as part of Dawn of DC, as an example, it probably would have worked better than as their own separate publishing initiative. At least they are part of the main DC universe. They haven't been done dirty like Milestone was, being turned into their own separate but equal universe. Will I be getting the other We Are Legends? Probably not. City Boy, I'm all with for, and I'm buying. I'm happy to see where this is going, but I still have no interest in Spirit World and The Vigil, and I haven't heard anything good about them either. Don't think I'll be jumping on those anytime soon. So I thank you very much for listening to me today. I hope you guys have a very nice rest of your day. I thank you for listening to me for so long. Keep on reading comics, keep on enjoying them. I'll keep analyzing them, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.